This is a mental disorder. I know people
That's
don't
right.
want to believe that or hear that, but this is a mental disorder. I
That's
wouldn't
right.
choose to be this way.
Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. Again, I got another good one. So today, first I want to just say thanks so much everybody for, logging in and checking out our conversations, helping me build this channel and getting a different side of the trans community out there. So I feel very lucky that people see what we're doing here is just an important way of showing that not all of us feel of what's happening in this community is positive. So that being said, I have a really awesome new friend of mine that I met on Instagram, and his name is Mark, and he's a transsexual man. And so I want Mark kind of introduce yourself, my friend, and let's have a nice conversation.
Well, yeah, I'm Mark. I'm 39. I'm going to be 40 in November. I'm from Michigan. I transitioned in 2017, and have been living my life as a male ever since.
Excellent. So I think me and you are kind of in alignment when it comes to our transition, right? And so I know that you identify as a transsexual man, as I do, and basically everything you say is like complete in alignment. But people out there don't know you. So what I want to talk about first off is your transition. And when you transitioned, you said at 30, you transitioned in 2017.
Yeah,
So
so I was
at
34.
39, how
Hmm.
old were you? Oh, you were 34, right? So
Yeah.
now you're 39. So that's I transitioned at 30. So you made a choice as an adult and you chose to do that. What were you doing prior to your transition? So how were you living your life?
Well, I came out when I was 17 as a lesbian. I actually grew up in a very conservative, religious Christian family. So when I came out back in 2000, very long time ago, my parents actually didn't take it very well. I was actually disowned by my family. Now everything's fine now, but when that initially happened, I was disowned by my family for 2 years, and they basically tried to preach their faith to me. But eventually they came around, and we fixed, we settled everything that we needed, and everything's been good. But when I came out back then, everything was fine. So I lived my life as a lesbian for most of my life, to be honest, from 17 probably till about, I'd say, 32 maybe, and that's when I really started questioning. Like, it's not that I didn't know. Like, I had a feeling I was trans very young. I had told my parents when I was young that I wanted to be a boy, that I thought I was supposed to be a boy, and that's something that always came up for me. But growing up in the Christian faith, I really didn't foresee that as something I could do. Nor back when I was younger were there many like transgender people, period. Like, not openly transgender. I mean, I think you were one of the only people I like knew of, to be honest. And so there wasn't a lot out. It was just something I never thought was going to happen in my life. And so when I started realizing that the lesbian label I didn't really feel that that fit me anymore, I kind of floated around. So I said I was two spirit for like a while. I said I was gender fluid for a while. And that's when all those new terminology was coming in this was early when it started coming in. And so I was just kind of trying to find my place. Eventually, I was actually in therapy 5 years, almost 5 or 6 years prior to 2017, working on my own personal issues and other stuff that I had to deal with, past trauma and stuff like that. And through working through all of those things, finally, when I worked through all my issues, the transgender thing was still there. And I basically talked to my therapist about it over the years. And eventually I just said, I think this is what I need to do. I think I need to transition. I think this is the right choice for me. So my therapist at the time that I was seeing, even though she was an LGBTQ therapist, she did not feel okay with the gender identity portion. Like, she didn't want to sit there and be like, "You're trans." She just that wasn't her place. So she very well said, "This isn't my place, but I do know somebody that you can go talk to." And it's not that she didn't think I was trans; it's just she didn't want to make that decision for me, which she shouldn't. So she sent me to another therapist, in which I finally talked to them, and in the midst of all that, I decided to transition and have never looked back.
Brilliant, brilliant. So I mean, really, everyone's story is different, and but I do sort of align with your story in a way that my therapist didn't just affirm me. and didn't just say, yeah, you're trans. Like there was a lot involved there, which is what I'm hearing from you. So
Yeah.
today, I don't think the affirmative therapy model is what me and you got. I find
No,
it to be a little
not at
bit.
all.
No, it's actually insane that you would just affirm somebody, especially when it's a mental disorder space. So why would you just
Yes.
affirm that? So how do you, yeah, so what do you think about this new affirmative therapy model?
Well, I don't know. I personally just don't agree with it, and that's because of my personal my personal journey with therapy. Like to me, therapy is no matter what you're going for, whether transition, no matter therapy, it's pushback. It's supposed to be helpful to help you grow and learn things about each other, learn things about yourself. So I don't I don't agree with a therapist just saying, okay, as long as you self ID to me that you're transgender, I'm gonna go ahead and give you hormones, which is happening with these over the counter like folks and all these things. Like I in all my Facebook groups I see these people, and these are, mind you, these are older people and they're making their own decision, they're adults.
Hmm.
But they're having 15 to 30-minute conversations with a therapist and having the testosterone shipped to their door the next day with no pushback. And to me, I don't agree with that because I feel like the pushback is needed in order to know if this is something you really want. Um, it's not that this is an easy life, it's not. And I feel like in some ways it's being glorified as like a solution to people's problems. And while it was a solution to my personal problem of being diagnosed with gender dysphoria and choosing to transition because that was the way to alleviate my gender dysphoria, I don't believe that that is the correct move for everybody. And as you know, we're seeing it with the huge detrans community that's happening right now, that there is a push for these kids who are not getting the full story, to be honest. I hear a lot from these kids where they say, I didn't get any pushback, or nor did I barely have any therapy. And I'm getting the testosterone to, my door the next day. And they have all said, most of them, most of the common thread is, I wish I would have gotten pushback from therapy. I wish I would have talked more about this in therapy because, they're going on hormones for some amount of time, being told that that's reversible, which it's not. I mean, I think you and I alone are proof right here that certain things are not reversible.
No.
And the funniest thing was, I think it was 2 days ago, I happened to look up informed consent because I remember, because that is originally how I got into testosterone. It was actually very complicated for me back in 2017. It was not this easy. So for me, I had to see a therapist, get a letter of recommendation from my therapist to actually go on testosterone. Then I had to sign the informed consent papers with my doctor, which then was probably like 6 pages long. I looked up a recent informed consent form. It's 2 pages. And what I realized is that they took out a lot of the stuff that says we don't know the long-term effects of testosterone. Because as you know, when you fill out informed consent, it'll say you can have high blood pressure or cholesterol problems, all the typical things that cisgender men would have. But it also goes on to say, I think 3 times, the one I signed, said, we do not know the long-term effects of testosterone on, you know, biological female bodies. And it expressed that 3 different times. The one I just looked at does not have that on there. So I know proof in the documents from actual distinguished uh, universities and stuff like that are taking out that language. And to me, that's scary because there still isn't enough research. Like, as you have said in many videos, in a way, we are guinea pigs. There isn't enough research on this topic in general. There hasn't been enough people transitioning to do enough research. Is there research happening in the meantime? Absolutely. But there isn't enough to say we can for sure say this is one, you're not going to have any side effects of this come long term. And as we know, from you talking about atrophy, I also personally deal with atrophy. Like that's an issue. That's something people aren't talking about. And there's just a lot of things that I feel like the children today are not being fully informed. Nor I do not necessarily agree with children being able to medically transition. I do believe that children should be able to socially transition. I think if you choose that, obviously that's a choice between parents and their child and a doctor and a therapist. they can choose that. And I think social transition is okay. But in my own research of looking into hormone blockers and everything that that entails, I know my wife and I personally don't have any kids right now, but if I did, that is not something I would choose for my child because of the side effects. Now, of course, do I think that there are rare cases where it may be needed because that person really is trans and they have extreme dysphoria? Absolutely. But I think that should be extreme cases. I don't think that there should be a huge push to put all these kids on hormone blockers. And it hasn't been a proven therapy, been in use proven therapy for being transgender or transsexual. It was used for prepubescent puberty. And even all the research on that shows that it causes issues with infertility, among many other things. I mean, one of the biggest things that I noticed with puberty blockers was that with biological females, it can cause PCOS, and PCOS alone can cause infertility. So to me, there's just a lot of scary stuff coming out of the community, and that's why I have chose to speak out now about this stuff. Because to be honest, my wife and I did a podcast a couple of years ago. That's still available. It's called Trans AM Podcast, and I wanted to be very open and honest because back then I was much a part of the left, and I am still considered a Democrat, a leftist. I'm not saying, but I was very much stuck in the rhetoric, in the push for everything, and I wasn't doing my own research. I was just assuming everything they were telling me was correct. So this was just like 3 years ago. I actually thought, hey, whatever they're saying is correct. This is right for the community. And I remember doing an episode specifically, and you came up in one of our episodes. And I remember my wife, I stopped her real quick and I just said, just be careful what you say because Buck is considered transphobic within the community because that's what I was seeing within my Facebook groups. Now, it doesn't mean that I didn't know about you or that I considered you transphobic. But right after that podcast, I started to do my own research, started watching a ton of your videos. And it was so funny because I kept going, like I would watch your videos and like going to my wife and be like, I don't understand why people think he's transphobic. Like I agree with everything he says, literally every single thing he says, I agree with. So I said, I just don't understand where that's coming from. So from that, I started to do my own research on everything myself. You know, I don't think any one of us should just believe you, believe me, believe Blair, believe anybody. I just think that people need to go out and do their own research and figure out what's the best course of action for them and learn whether whomever you're listening to, whatever news network or people, if that really is the correct thing or the right data. Because I have found that a lot of the data being put out is not correct. It's not correct.
No, but they're but what you just said. So you see, them calling me transphobic is for a reason, so that they can
Oh yeah,
shut my voice down and nobody will hear what I'm saying. It's not that I'm
absolutely.
transphobic; it's that they don't like what I'm saying because it goes against what they're saying. So that's what I want people. I don't care. They can call me as many names as they
Oh,
want. People like you literally went and did your research and said, "Wait a minute, Buck is not transphobic." So that you just validated everything that I'm trying to do, which is to say, wait a minute, we're allowed to have a different opinion. It doesn't make me transphobic. It makes me have a different opinion. So that is what I'm fighting against. That's why I recreated my YouTube channel, and because I am not going to be, I will not tolerate being bullied. I will not tolerate being shut down because you don't like what I say, and I will not tolerate a monolithic community because that's not how we grow as people. And most importantly in this conversation, children. I am here for the children. I don't care about an adult. I don't care about somebody who chooses to make a choice and sadly makes a mistake because that's just a horrible thing. But I can't focus on that. Those are adults. You know, we are now responsible for these children. And when I start to see misinformation about puberty blockers, and you and I both know it's full on misinformation. In fact, today
yeah.
I was throwing a pamphlet that's the most updated, most amazing pamphlet all about the bad side effects and problems with giving these children puberty blockers. I have it all, dude. So that's what they got to be scared of, because they got to be scared of now the truth is all going to be coming out about those blockers that they keep lying
Well,
about.
and the funny thing is, if the people just honestly did their own research, they would find it. All you got to do
That's
is
right.
look up Lupron side
That's right.
effects and go into a deep dive on it. You don't have
But
to
they
look at the
won't.
first article. You don't look at the first article and assume that's correct. You read 25, 30 articles
That's
and you
right.
put them all together and you say, wow, why are all these other countries who were way ahead of us in this fight deciding all of a sudden to stop doing this? There's a reason
Right.
for that, you know?
Right. Right.
And that is the scariest thing is the children. That really is the scariest thing of all of this, and that's kind of what's brought me to the forefront to start speaking out on this. You and Blair, the when you did Blair's podcast, you and
Yeah.
Blair kind of set a call to action, and you said if anybody can speak, is willing to speak, and of course can safely speak, without fear of being attacked or anything like that physically, you're in the correct state or area, whatever,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
speak. And that really spoke to me because I said there aren't enough people. I know that there's enough people that think like us. That's not the issue. I speak to them every day.
Yeah.
I know they're there, cisgendered, LGBTQ. There are people that think like us, but there's not enough of us speaking out. And I'm just sick of constantly speaking up or just literally speaking my opinion about an issue and constantly being called transphobic. I constantly get called transphobic probably on the daily basis of my Facebook groups for something I say.
It's incredible. It is actually
Mhm.
incredible that our community has become this community, because that is not community. It is not. Just because you have a different opinion about something does not make you transphobic. And in fact, it makes them transphobic for calling you transphobic, because it is actually a slur, slang, hateful, bully behavior when you start doing all that kind of stuff. So all we're doing by we're exposing the hypocrisy, and we're exposing the lies and the deceit that is coming from a community that is our community as well. It's not their
Yeah,
community, it's our
no,
community. Yeah, and that's what people seem to forget. Me and you do the work in this community just like everybody else does, and we have every right to speak. I don't want to say against. We have an opposing opinion.
an
An
opposing
opposing
opinion.
opinion.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an opposing opinion. And I did my research around blockers, and I've done my research. And those people can never have an argument with me. You know what they do? They block me. They call me names. They don't have they can't show me proof that blockers are not, or when they say blockers are reversible, I want to throw up. I actually want to throw up.
Oh
You
yeah, me
cannot,
too.
it's literally taking a chunk out of a child's life that you'll never get. I want to know, show me how that's reversible. Show me the
Right.
year you took out of a child's life with blockers. How are you ever going to get that back? That's not reversible. That's
Yeah.
just not. So this idiot language coming out, and these bully people bullying me and you and all of us who sort of speak up and have a different opinion about it, says everything to me, and we're exposing their nonsense. So I do
Well, no, and
appreciate
honestly,
that.
and like I said, like that's the scariest thing I think is that like for a long time I felt very accepted by the LGBT community, especially as a lesbian, like prior to this. And then when I came out as transgender, like I said, I originally was on the play with the left, and I was like, yep, trans people in sports. I was a huge supporter initially, and so I really did my research. And it's like I said, I would never sit here and say I don't think trans people should play sports. That's not
Of
true. I
course.
think trans people should have every opportunity everybody else does. But there are biological differences and biological, people do have a biological advantage. That does happen. And there, once again, is not enough research for anybody to tell me that, okay, 2 years on hormones will make you equal to a female, or 5 years on hormones will make you equal to a biological female. If you could if that research could ever come up down the line, that'd be great. If they really could say, okay, if you're on hormones for 7 years, then we can say that this will equal to that, then great. But
Yeah.
until that's done, then I don't really know what the solution is for trans people in sports right now, besides maybe having a subset of only trans people. And I know people don't want to hear that, but I
Well,
just don't
they're
think it's
idiots.
fair.
They're, fuck that. I don't care if they want to hear it or not. The problem is that we're a very tiny little group of people. We're not that big. So why?
Well, and
And
that's what I
also,
think. I
Yeah.
think everybody keeps forgetting that. I think a lot of people think that that transsexuals or transgender people are a huge part of the community. It's
That's
literally like 0.04% of the
right.
community. And then we have all these other people like Alok and all these other people speaking for our community, for us.
That's
And
right.
that to me just isn't right because
You know,
there are plenty of us, and I don't know if it's people who transitioned later in life or people who are older, but what I have noticed is that people who have transitioned later in life seem to have these a better understanding and actually do their own research. As
yes.
for like these kids who are just kind of like in a way being indoctrinated. And I can't say that for sure, but what I can say from the friends and family that have teenage kids, I see this ideology ruining these children's lives. Like it's happening within my own family. I've seen it happen where I remember that a member of my family, I'm not going to mention who it was, but a member of my family initially said they're a teenager in school, and they said that they were not comfortable, that it was getting to a point that they did not feel comfortable identifying as a cisgendered female. They actually said that. And then so through that journey, they first thought they were trans, now they're non-binary, and now they're going through that thing. Now, of course, they're not medically transitioning, but they are under like a type of social transition. And to me, I've seen that with, other people and other parents that I talk to that said, like, this stuff's crazy. I even know teachers who work in the school system who have said, like, yeah, this gender stuff's like getting out of hand. Like, let kids be kids. you know, I just don't understand because it seems like we're trying to force them to grow up
Yes.
faster than they need to. And,
Yes.
I don't believe in that. I think let kids be kids. I mean, we all grew up fine. We still all figured out who we are.
Look at
And
us.
one of the biggest things I don't understand is this push, or not this push, but this subset of trans people who don't have dysphoria. Now, I'm not saying that that's not a thing. I can't speak to that because I personally have dysphoria, but I don't understand it, and I don't understand how you know you're trans if you don't have dysphoria. To me, I just don't get it because that's the only way I knew that something was
But
up,
that is
and
trans. You know
yes.
what? So remember when everybody used to talk about appropriation? You're appropriating this culture. You're appropriating. That's
Yes.
literally
Yes.
what's been That's exactly what's happened to the transgender space. It's been appropriated in a way that says you don't need gender dysphoria to be trans. You know, that's an appropriation of our disorder. And it's why I separated myself from transgender and call myself a transsexual because I have no alignment with those people. If you don't have gender dysphoria, I don't know what you're doing. You're actually choosing to be trans. I never chose this identity or this space, not even an identity. It's my actual disorder. So I need for
Yes.
people to hear what you and I are saying as transsexual men. We have a disorder. We accept our disorder. We've been, diagnosed with a disorder. We needed to move
Well, and
forward.
I'll tell you, like, I would never choose this. I want to be
That's
very
right.
clear. If I
That's
had
my
a
point.
choice in life, I would not choose to be trans. It's not fun.
That's my point.
Like, it took me a lot of work to figure out how to get here. It takes a lot of work to make sure that you take hormone and that you do the things you needed to do. And that's why I also reclaim the transsexual label because technically the definition of a transsexual is somebody who goes on hormones and undergoes surgeries to
That's right.
basically have a sex change and become the opposite sex. And
That's
that's what I did. Now, there's a lot of people who say they're trans but never want medical intervention. I don't understand that.
right. No, me neither.
I just don't.
Neither.
And I mean, that's not my journey. So, of course, I'm never going to understand that. Just like I don't understand non binary. Doesn't mean I'm not saying they don't exist because
That's
they
right.
do. But I don't, it's not my journey and I don't understand it. Just like I've had so many people say, I don't understand your journey, which I don't expect them to. They're not
That's
trans.
right.
They're not going to
So
understand
that's
it,
why I don't understand why they're arguing with me and you that we want to separate from them and we don't feel in alignment. Why are they getting so mad about that? I get people telling me all the time, "Oh, you're breaking up the community. You're doing that's transphobic to that's hierarchy." I'm like, "It is not. I literally live in a and then they call you true scum or
Trans
trans medicalist.
medicalists.
Like what? like, first
Nope.
off, little children, I transitioned like a long ass time ago. So first off, no. Secondly, how dare you tell me who and what I am? If we did that to them, they would literally have a conniption fit and turn over and die
Well, and
and call
it's
us words or violence.
well, that's true, and it's funny because just from speaking out and doing what we're doing, they automatically assume that I'm telling them what to do. I'm
That's
not.
right.
Like I've
That's
had to
right.
go to bat to
Nope.
just be like, this is my opinion. I mean, yes, some of the stuff I say is actual fact from the research I've done, and I will
Yeah.
state that if it is. But
Yeah.
most of my stuff I do is opinion. It's just my personal opinion as another transsexual man. And they want to, I had a bunch of people coming at me on my biology video, and I just said like, but that's fact, it's fact. I understand that you want to fight with me about it, but it is a fact, and I feel like society would just move a little better if people could accept. I feel like I've said this to my wife before, but I feel like people just have gotten way too sensitive, and people are walking around with like victim mentality. And you're not going to grow or achieve greatness or achieve what you want in this life by constantly being a victim.
That's
And,
right.
it's just not going to happen.
No, and that's kind of what's being taught to this younger generation. That if I don't get what I get, you're a trans, and then we're teaching bad behavior. These kids are not going to be able to
Absolutely.
function in the real world. And if you can't have any pushback by at least someone in your community, good luck going out into the real world and walking around, because you're going to get a ton more pushback. And what are you going to do? You're going to fall and cry, and no one will care. People will kick you to the side, my friend. So if you don't learn to have at least some kind of debate within your own community, how are you going to go out into the world and have a job and, you know what I mean, meet people and have conversation if not everyone agrees with you? That's what we're teaching. We're teaching, if someone doesn't agree with me, oh, I'm going to call your name and I'm going to fall apart. What is that? What behavior is that, my friend? I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I don't understand it either. I don't.
um, yeah. So that being said, I think me and you are both kind of in agreement, as you said, about the puberty blocker facade, because it's a facade as far as I'm concerned. And I have my own opinions and my own thoughts about why we're pushing it so hard. But I'm wondering if you have any thoughts about why we're pushing young people, and especially from ages of 10 on, to be trans or to say they're trans if they say they're trans, right? So what do
I,
you think about this, if you want to?
Am I honestly? I don't know. I mean, I've seen the huge shift in society. I know it's happening. It's very obvious that it is. To be honest, through my research, I'm not really sure exactly what's happening. To me, it does seem like a political ploy. Um, I feel like children are being used by the left as a political ploy right now to push the LGBTQ agenda. And like I said, I voted Democrat in every election. I'm not saying that I'm not a leftist or that I don't agree with a lot of the things that leftists agree with. I do, but I
Yeah,
don't
I'm a
agree with this
liberal.
gender.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
yeah,
agree with the gender ideology. I don't agree with some things coming out of that. It's just I've heard many different theories on what people believe. There's some people believe it's population control. There's some people that believe there's many different reasons for this. I don't know. But to me,
yeah,
all I can see right now is it being a political play. That's
yeah.
all.
I think I kind of agree. But so the other question is that we have this knowledge of Lupron, and we have a lot of knowledge around Lupron, and I have it a lot from adults who sent me stuff about their own insane, horrific journey on Lupron, and these are adult women. That is unbelievable, the stuff that you could read and talk about. But we turn around and give this to young people from 10 on, maybe even younger than that, when we have actual factual information of how it's literally destroyed females
Yeah.
with long-term effects from this. And that's where I'm disturbed. I'm disturbed that we would have this information that says, wait a minute, this stuff is dangerous. Yet here we are saying, but these children need it and it's reversible and it doesn't do bad things. And we have two countries, France and Sweden, saying, no, we're not doing that anymore. And everyone in this country is like, well, it's transphobic if we don't let children transition. And I'm like, but wait, are you people seeing this information here that could be so detrimental to the health of this healthy child, because the child is healthy, my friend. The thing that's not healthy is
Right.
their brain. It's not the
Right.
physical aspect, yet we're giving medication for the physical, and we're not doing anything on the mental, where it's literally backwards, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really what I'm concerned about more than anything. I'm concerned about a group of young people being put on a medication that we all know is completely insane. Yet what's going to happen to these children in 5 or 10, even 15 years? Do we care?
I mean, I know you and I do, and that's why we're speaking out. But some people, like, I'm not really sure. And like I said, all my research that I've done on Lupron is scary. It's
Scary.
very scary. If you don't believe us, please go do your own research. It is
It's,
scary. It's very, very scary what is happening.
it's weird.
And well, yeah, I just don't, for one, I don't understand it. And two, like I said, let kids be kids. I understand if people want to socially transition their child,
Of
but that is
course.
something that should be made the choice between the parents, the child, and a therapist. And I know I
Yes.
keep pushing therapy and people don't want to hear that, but I will continue to push it because I think it's the most important factor.
It's the
I
number
think
one thing. It's the number one thing
100%.
because
Especially
dysphoria
because
is
this
here.
is, yes,
That's right.
this is a mental disorder. I know people
That's
don't
right.
want to believe that or hear that, but this is a mental disorder. I
That's
wouldn't
right.
choose to be this way. It's not like something I was literally born basically in the way I think of it. I was born with a male brain, female body. Some got mixed up somewhere. That's how I look at it.
They
And
do.
unfortunately, there is no other way to fix it right
That's right.
now besides going to therapy and deciding yourself if you
Yep.
believe you need to transition or go on hormones. It's not like we can take a medication. Like I know Blair White talks about this a lot, and she has mentioned, what if there became a cure? I actually think that'd be great. Like
Be
if
amazing.
one day down the line in 20 years they have a cure for this and I can take a pill and feel 100% okay to be a biological woman,
That's right.
awesome. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Because to
No.
me, the validation, I'm validated by having this disorder. And I don't agree with the community trying to tell me that I'm not valid because I believe that I have a mental disorder. I was diagnosed with it. It's not a belief, it's a fact. It's on a piece of paper. Like I was diagnosed with it and being treated for it. That this is what I do to fix it.
Right.
And it has alleviated my dysphoria. So I know it works. But that's the thing I don't understand is and looking at if other people in society were to just look at all the other transgender people or transsexual people out there and actually read informed consent papers, old ones, as I pointed out since the earlier video, because they do leave out some stuff. But if you actually read all that stuff, you would understand that there isn't enough research to tell me that even I'm being safe with what I'm doing, that you're being safe with what you're doing, that I'm not going to die in an early grave because of the hormones that I'm pumping into my body. There's nothing out there to tell me that. I signed a piece of paper saying I'm not sure what's going to happen in the future, but I'm willing to do this because I feel like this is what is needed. And why would we push anything close to that on children
Yeah.
when I don't think children can make that decision? And only adults can make
So
that
they're
decision.
not making the choice. That's the more even scary part. Parents are making the choice for their child.
Yeah.
So you watch what's going to happen. The backlash of kids who were put on these blockers and it didn't work out for them because we're going to
They're
have
going to
these
be
kids.
pissed at their parents.
They're going to actually be suing their parents, suing their doctors because it's not the parents' fault on some level either because the parents are being fed complete total bullshit nonsense and being pushed into a corner. Either if you don't transition, they're going to kill themselves, like bullshit like
Yeah.
that. And like I
And
find
why is that like the biggest fight right now? Like that's constantly like I constantly fight with people every day, and it's like like they're like, oh, the videos you're putting out, like you're more trans people are just gonna kill themselves, and I'm like, what? Like
what?
why does it
Show me
always
the
jump to like
statistics. I keep
yeah
saying it. You keep saying 40% of trans people kill themselves. Show me. If it was 40%, you would see dead bodies everywhere.
yeah
That is such a
yeah
goddamn lie. And it's actually upsetting because there are people in this community, including me, who did try to commit suicide. So I find it really
me too.
goddamn fucked up. That's right. It's not like it doesn't happen. It does happen. But when you lie about numbers, especially connected to suicide, fuck you. Because you know what? You are actually instigating a space when these little kids hear shit like this, and then they can actually get into this mindset that, oh, suicide. Like, we are so gross. That is the grossest, most. Don't we want us to be healthy and happy and move forward? We are examples of that. This is what we want. We want kids to grow up to be healthy, happy, and possibly not be trans, because it
Yeah.
isn't a fun space to be in. And it's not, yay, trans is beautiful. It's, yeah, you got a disorder. Let's fix it and let's let you go and move on in the world. But it's become an ideology. I will continue to say that. It has become, bring more people in, get more people, transition everyone. I feel like it's this idea that the more people we have, the more powerful the community becomes. And on some level, they're just indoctrinating young people to be trans. And it's just so pathetic. It's
It,
pathetic.
no, it's pathetic, and the truth is, it's literally tearing our community apart.
Ugh,
I mean, that's why you started a new page. That's why we have separated ourselves from the transgender community, because the LGBT community is literally full of hate. Like, yes,
yep,
I know a lot of people who are great people, a part of
yep,
that community, but like as for social media, like that, it is just it's a complete
yes,
hate-filled group, constantly
that's right.
spewing hate.
That's right.
And,
Every
you
day.
know, I'm so happy that you started this new page and that this new community, because it
Yeah.
really is about having diversity, different opinions, and being able
Yep.
to sit there and talk about it openly and not hate each other over it. Like
It's
you and I
gross.
shouldn't be called transphobic, or shouldn't be pushed out of the community just because of it. We have a different opinion. We should be able to come together, talk about it. Maybe they'll change my mind. Maybe they won't. Maybe I'll change their mind. Maybe they won't. But that's it. I mean, that's, I'm almost 40. Like, that's just how life works. And that's the one thing I don't understand, is that, like, the whole reason we all got here, the whole reason why same sex marriage is legal, was
Yeah.
not by pushing ideology on society. We slowly integrated
Right.
into society and showed everybody we're normal, just like everybody else. So allow us the
Yep.
same rights. That's it. We didn't, it was not like we were constantly out there throwing ourselves out there, pushing all this language, pushing this agenda. We just slowly, said, we're here. Hi. Look, we're just like your normal neighbors. And eventually everybody was like, okay, we're
Well, they
cool with
didn't
that,
fear
you know?
us. Now they
No.
fear us. They actually,
Well, they
my
fear us
transition.
because of
Yeah, dude,
they
literally,
they
I've
fear us
never.
because of so much hate.
Sorry, repeat that.
I said they fear us because of so much hate coming out of the community. That's what I think.
That's
And
right.
because bringing children into the picture.
That's
Anytime
right.
you bring children into the picture, you're gonna cause mass panic.
That's right.
Somebody will cause mass panic because you're talking about
Well,
children.
that's exactly what I say all the time. You're right, 100%. And that's the thing, is why are we talking about children and sex change operations? Whether or not we're giving them sex change operations, it's on our. We're like, we got it, So I don't know. Oh, we're not doing that. Oh, we actually are giving blockers to 10-year-olds. So yes, we are. We might not be cutting the penis off of a 10-year-old yet, but don't think that might not be the next step of these fucking crazy ass people. And we've already tried doing this. There's an actual huge study in Finland and Sweden, as well as Dr. Money. We all know who Dr. Money is. He did that stupid thing with that kid, and like made that boy into a girl and fucked
Yep.
that kid's life up forever. And that's a factual thing. When a doctor tried to experiment with this child, it didn't work. And that should be the only experiment we should ever put in there. This guy tried to do this shit, it didn't work. You can't do that to kids. Kids are all over the place, right? And also, what kid knows they're trans? They're given this language. I didn't know I was
Yeah.
trans. I never even
I
said that
abs
word.
No,
What?
that word never came out of my mouth. And like I
Never.
said earlier, when we started this, you were probably and you transitioned 30 some years ago. So even when
Yep.
I was younger, you didn't even transition yet. So
Yeah.
you were one of the first people I ever even heard of. And then it was like you and Chaz Bono. That was like literally it for the longest time.
Yep.
And like, yes, did I know of a couple more trans women? Yes,
Mhm.
because
Yep.
they were a little more visible. And I
Yep.
feel like that's because trans men are a little like transsexual men who decide to medically transition are able to fit into society a little bit better. And that's nothing against trans women. I've talked to
No.
trans women; they have admitted this.
Yeah.
Testosterone is a more powerful hormone than estrogen. I mean, there's proof of that. So
Yeah.
I just think that it works. a little stronger in some cases. So
Well, it's
that's
different.
why a lot of people didn't hear about us, and a lot
Yeah,
of people didn't know that there were, as many trans people as there were back
that's
then
right.
because they just lived their life in society. We just didn't know.
Well, we want to pass. I mean, that's the other thing. Now, passing is considered passing privilege. You know what? Me and this dude next to me, Mark, we work on this. This isn't natural. It's something that we actually work on to look this way. So when people say that kind of stuff, it's so insulting. I just can't believe trans people call us these names and like call us privileged. And, we pass because we make an effort to pass. And that was the whole point of transitioning. That's where our dysphoria comes from. It comes from the fact that people see us as female and then we want them to see us as male. It's real basic. It's not. So the newer generation doesn't want to pass. That's not the same as me and Mark. And that's why there needs
No,
to be this understanding of two. I'm fine with the transgender umbrella. Go for it, kiddos. Do your thing.
me
But
too.
do
Yeah.
not. Yeah, do not speak for me because you do not align with my space, and you're saying things that are actually really detrimental to the success of transsexual people, and that means we need our sex changes and we need our hormones and we need to look like men and women and we need to fit in the binary. Binary is important to me, and
Yeah.
so so
Well, and that's
so
something I've always talked about too, is that, I get a lot of hate, and I'm sure you've gotten this for being a binary trans guy. And like I understand that, like, I sometimes I understand where they're coming from if there's somebody who can't medically transition, because there are people who physically
of
cannot because
course,
they have
of
medical
course,
conditions or something where they can't. And those people I understand. But
yeah, but
as
we're
for the
not
rest,
angry
like,
at
I
them.
constantly get no, and I constantly get told, like, oh, well, we're not going to listen to you because you're cis passing and you must have an easier life and blah blah
Wow,
blah.
wow.
But then, I get into like talks with them, and they'll be like, oh, well, I don't plan on going on hormones. That's not something I'm ever going to do. I just want people to see me as male. And I'm like, I get that you want that, but it's going to be really hard for society to see you that way.
It's
It's
weird. It's
you, you
weird.
know,
It's like identifying as a cat, but you don't look like a cat, but you're mad because people don't call you a cat, but you're not a cat, dude. You're an actual human who thinks you're a cat. So now, if you're not even going to wear the cat costume around, people are not going to see you as a cat. So, on some level, this is a costume. And my costume reflects how I feel on the inside in order for the
absolutely.
other people to be able to walk alongside me and see me as a man. I have no problem saying that. I know exactly what's going on here. And it actually made me be able to be a success in the world because I didn't lie and I don't lie to the world. I tell them exactly. And it's why I'm very attached to my biology because I need for people to know that I have to live this way in order to be alive. And, people don't want us to die. People don't want to see us suffering. They do want to see us happy. And if we're honest, those people will be honest, but we're not being honest. And you know it as well as I do, and why we have to continue to create the space for us to have a voice. Like you're creating your space on all your platforms, and I see it, and you're kicking ass, dude. And that's why you're getting the hate. But the hate means you're doing something right. I hope you know that, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope you
I
do.
came into this full well knowing that that was going to happen. And,
Yeah, yeah,
that's why I personally chose to speak out, just because I know that
yeah,
I have enough inner peace to not be affected by those comments, and that
yeah.
I know I'm personally speaking my own truth, and that's all that
That's right. That's all it is. These are our
matters.
stories. And
Yep.
so with that, we're going to end right now. And I just want everybody to know that Mark can be reached on, tell us your platforms.
Okay, so I'm on Instagram and Facebook as
Okay.
Mark Meets World One.
Okay.
Um, I'm on YouTube as
Uh-huh.
Mark Meets World. I'm
Okay.
I want to say one doesn't have the one, so it's like I always
Well,
get
you'll just
submitted.
email it to me, and then I'll put it all
Yeah,
in the thing
oh for
because
sure.
I really want to give you a bigger platform. I really want you to grow, and the more people support me and you and all of us doing this, the more this nonsense will stop, and people will start to see. Not all of us agree with this community, and more of us are starting to come out and have these conversations, and so I think it means a lot to me, Mark, that you care and that you're willing to stand up against the hate. This is what I want everybody to see. He's willing to stand up against the hate. That means he's really powerful. It's hard. It hurts our feelings. It's actually gross, and we feel just distance from a community that we like being a part of. And So, I want people to understand what you're doing is so powerful, and, give the guy props, because it's not easy to be in these spaces at this time right now. But the more of us are standing up, and I appreciate your time a lot, Mark, and I appreciate that you're willing to have the conversation, even though we
For
agree on
sure.
most everything.
I, but I just want you to know too that I appreciate you, and I think one of the biggest things that shows, and my wife even said this to me, I think yesterday, and she said one of the biggest things that shows how passionate and how much you care about people in this community is how much you continuously speak about
Thank you.
the
Thank you.
issues. If you
Yep.
didn't care and if you didn't love this community, you wouldn't put in the work and you wouldn't continue to speak. You would just back
Thank
down,
you.
you know?
Yeah, I would.
So,
I appreciate that. It means a lot to me. I do care about you, and I do love everybody in this community. What I don't love is bullshit, and I don't love lies. I'm not a liar. So with that, thanks everybody for watching again. I really appreciate it. I'm so lucky to get these people to come on and have the conversation. And remember, when you like and subscribe and do all those awesome things, you help bring our voices up. And so hopefully we can become somewhere where we're eventually all going to meet here, and everything's going to be smoothed out and awesome. So everybody have a great day, and well, I'll see you on the next one.